Hello, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, Friday the 13th. I'm realizing right now. Welcome to the Partnership at Drug Free New Hampshire's Facebook Live. My name is Julie Yerkes, and I'm the Community Engagement Lead for the partnership. And I'm thanking you for joining us here at this Facebook Live, where we explore current prevention and interventions across the state of New Hampshire around preventing and reducing substance misuse across the lifespan. You know, this time of year, I don't think a day goes by where the conversation or a news article or something just about a little bit about this time of year being hard sometimes, right? With the shortening of the days, we still have 8 more days of them shortening, and then we get to start watching them get longer. But the shortening of the days, that like time change that really hits us with a bang, and then all of the other things that comes with winter and the holidays, and it can be a hard time of year. There's an American Psychological Association study that showed that 38% of people reported that their stress increases during the holiday season, and we know that folks' stress is already pretty high as in the United States, right? So it increasing even more. And that is just kind of associated with lack of time, the financial pressure, with heat costs and gift giving, and and then the family gatherings can be stressful. So we know that it can be a tough time of year. And there's a survey that reported that the average American drinks 27% more during the holiday season compared to the rest of the year, which we know is already high too, right, for most Americans. So the industry of distilled spirits reported that they make a quarter of their proceeds in 1 month between Thanksgiving and New Year's. So that sales all happens at that time. So we are aware of this, and we're here today and happy to have Ellie Mason with us today from the Recovery Friendly Workplace to talk about what we can do to help ourselves, to support ourselves and those that we love and know at this tough time of year. So Ellie is a recovery friendly advisor, and she'll tell us a little bit more what that means. And she helps workplaces and coalitions better support their employees in recovery and those affected by substance use disorder directly or indirectly through education, connection, and local resources. And so she is a great person to have on here today to guide us through a conversation around how we can support ourselves and others around substance use. So hi, Ellie.
Hi, Julie. Thank you for that lovely introduction and giving some context around why it's so important to talk about this always and especially this time of year. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining wherever you are. My name is Ellie Mason. I'm a recovery friendly advisor with the New Hampshire Governor's Recovery Friendly Workplace Initiative administered by Granite United Way. So just within that name, we're connected to a lot of great resources to support folks' recovery. And my primary role is to work with all of our workplaces. We're up to almost 400 workplaces representing over 36,000 employees in the state. If you're interested in becoming one, it is a free initiative and we'll share those links. But really my role is to work with employers to support their employees in recovery, as well as those affected by substance use disorder. So if someone has a loved one or a roommate that is struggling and they want to bring home some resources, or even just talk to their employer about how they can themselves feel supported at work around that, we want to make sure everyone is supported. And we're really reducing that stigma to talk about recovery and talk about substance use disorder.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. And so I think Nikki's going to put in the chat how folks can learn more about recovery friendly workplaces. But that, what a great initiative that started here in New Hampshire not too long ago, and has grown to, in New Hampshire, you just said 400 workplaces.
Yeah.
That is just remarkable. And I know that it's gone, it's been a model that's been shared nationwide as well. So um, thank you for doing what you do. It's really exciting. Um, so I'd like to start by, or you just explained to me what our recovery friendly workplace is, but as I mentioned, like this is a hard time of year. So what can people do? What are some, um, tips that you might have for us, for ourselves or for someone we know is going through a little bit of a hard time right now? Like, what, let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll preface all of these tips and resources with I'm not someone with direct lived experience in recovery. I do have experience managing mental health conditions, and these tips are helpful to me. They're helpful to others. So if you are feeling like this doesn't really apply to me, maybe you might learn something around just managing your own well being in the holidays and beyond. So, for us as individuals, especially folks in recovery, we want to make sure we are heading into the holiday season, the winter season, knowing what our resources are and feeling really connected to those. So, we are really lucky to have recovery community organizations that are open throughout the holidays, all throughout the state. They are free resources. You can just walk in and get support for whatever your recovery looks like. They will be there to support you. If you are ready to pursue treatment, we have the doorway system that can get you connected. We also have public health networks that provide a lot of really great information. And also just practicing that self-awareness of what do I need to feel supported this holiday season? Am I ready to participate in whatever I used to participate in terms of gatherings or seeing family or loved ones, or do I want to celebrate a little bit differently? Do I want to like really protect this time and make it just for me? And there's no guilt or shame around doing what you need to do and setting those boundaries to protect your recovery. And I also like to say, if you are trying something out, like trying to go back to your family's house and go to the same gatherings and it's not feeling right, you can change your mind. If a slip happens or you have a recurrence of use, help is available to you. So that's the progress that you've made in your recovery doesn't disappear if something happens, but we want to make sure that we're getting help as quickly as possible to make sure that um, we are still taking care of ourselves and managing your expectations and others' expectations. So if it is feeling like it's going to look different, maybe you have a conversation around like, hey, I'm not going to come to this party because it's not going to feel like a really safe environment. Ex family member, do you want to do something else with me that evening? Or just really communicating what would feel supportive to you and advocating for your needs, which takes all of us. So it can be really scary to tell someone what you need if that need is different than what it might have been in the past. So it's on all of us to make that space really safe, supportive, and open, and check in with each other. If you are the loved one of someone in recovery, reach out and just ask, what would feel comfortable for you this year. I was at dinner with a friend the other night who is sober, and all it takes is asking, like, hey, how do you feel when someone is drinking in like near you? And it was a really nice conversation. It doesn't take much to just ask what people's comfort levels are,
Mm-hmm.
and what would make them feel safe.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's so, the setting expectations, it just sounds so right to me. And I might know, let's tell myself, give myself permission if something is uncomfortable, that it's okay, I can leave, right? I don't have to stay. But then I might get into the situation and see my loved ones who really might not be and then it's a tension, right? But had I maybe reached out ahead of time and say, I don't know if I'm 100%, and if this is going to work out. So I just need you to support me if I decide to leave. It doesn't mean I love you any less. It doesn't mean it wasn't a nice time. It just means I'm not there. I think about how many times that departure might have been different had I set the expectations, right? And shared what I knew was already in my heart and my head. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of what research from recovery communities talks about around the holidays is drive your own car. If you have your own transportation, it feels really safe to be in control of your situation and be able to leave when you want, and planning ahead. So if you want to go to a meeting that day or have things in your schedule around to protect your recovery, because we're out of our routine around the holidays, a lot of us. So having that plan and structure is really, really helpful.
Yeah, and you mentioned at the end a little bit about asking, right? If you're a friend or a family member of somebody who is in recovery or is having some other behavioral health challenges, I just asking, the question, how can I support you? Can you share other things that we might be able to do to proactively support our friends and family or coworkers who are in recovery or having, knowing that they're having a hard time?
Yeah, a lot of it is that communication. So communication, asking what someone may need, proactively communicating like, hey, there will be alcohol or whatever else at this party. How do you is that comfortable for you? How can we make it more comfortable or more safe? And also reducing the pressures. There's a lot of pressures around the holiday season. So if you can check in with yourself and say what feels stressful to me or could feel stressful to others, and can we do something different? So sometimes folks in earlier recovery are in more challenging financial situations. A lot of us are in challenging financial situations. So maybe you think about gift giving and how that looks. Maybe it's something else this year. Maybe you want to spend a day with your loved ones, like going for a walk or volunteering. And if you feel uncomfortable, it's okay to open up that conversation and say hey, I feel nervous. I don't really know how to support you. I don't want to make a mistake. Just having that vulnerable conversation can lead to a lot of reduced pressures, reduced assumptions, and kind of manage those expectations. And also asking yourself, as a loved one or a coworker, are you ready to celebrate with the person who's in recovery? Are you ready to adapt or be really aware of what they need and respect what they need? Or are you inviting them into an environment that could feel really triggering and unsafe? So it takes all of our self-awareness. And it's also really helpful for us as supporters or as loved ones or as coworkers to know what the resources are, even if we personally might not need them. So checking in with your coworker, hey, did you know that RCOs or recovery community organizations are open during the holidays? Did you know that this is available, the 988 hotline, if you're feeling like you're in a crisis, 211 to find whatever support you need in the state, which is a 24/7, 365 days a year hotline. There's also the Never Use Alone hotline. If someone is not ready to either stop their consumption or practice abstinence, we at least want to make sure that they're safe and not alone.
Okay, great. Those are some wonderful resources you just mentioned. So I think Nikki already put them in. The Never Lose Alone, the 211. And 211, I just, every time I go, you can call 211, and I love their website. I'm not going to lie, if you have access to a computer, you can search by location and all those sort of from basic needs, from heating to food, food support to childcare support, right? There's just so many things on there. sometimes it's like, I didn't even know what I needed, right?
Yeah,
Until you
yeah,
see what's available to support you and or families that, that may be going into, a pretty long winter, right? With prices of, and housing, tensions and so forth. So you also mentioned 988,
Mhm.
which is, can you tell us a little bit more about 988?
Yeah, 988 is so it's the mental health crisis line version of 911. So if you are experiencing a mental health crisis or a substance use crisis, you can call 988 and they will connect you with that next level of care, and make sure that you are cared for or taken care of in that situation. So it's making sure that in that crisis there is a resource there to support you.
And even before crisis, right? Like, they're
Absolutely.
there to help de-escalate like a challenge, and
Hmm.
so that we don't reach crisis.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be the person who is in. It can be the supporter that calls,
Mhm.
right? If you're, that feeling when something's up and you don't know how to do, like, solve it or fix it, or the approach, you just gave us a bunch of examples of ways to say it, but maybe you're in the moment and you're like, oh shoot, what did Ellie say? How can I ask this question? 988 is a resource that you can say, I'm really worried about this person, and I like, can you help me through this, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's such a important point for us to share with folks, is that it doesn't have to be the person who is in crisis, and it doesn't have to quite be a crisis.
Right.
um, and they're really there to help us.
Yeah.
um,
I'll expand on the hotline resources that we have. There are a lot of resources, specific to different identities that you may have or why you might be calling. The holidays can bring up a lot, whether it's grief or just like an overwhelming intensity of joy, or it's family tension, like around your identity or how you are living or how you've changed since the last time you've been home. And there are resources there to support and virtual groups to find community. So I think one thing we really want to underscore is that you are not alone in this time of year that can feel really isolating. And there is support available for free and accessible to all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I saw there was a comment from Eliza Zarka, who has been, hi Eliza, hope everything's good. She was with Recovery Friendly Workplace in the governor's office previously, and is still working in that world, I think, helping others learn about it. So nice to see you. Um, so anything else you'd like us to take away with us as we enter into the week and a half before Christmas itself, which we know is busy time?
Yeah, I think it never hurts to like do a little extra to take care of yourself. If you're someone who's not in recovery, but maybe like the consumption of alcohol doesn't make you feel great the next day, you can make different choices. You can celebrate differently and lean on your people a little bit extra. I think the more we are honest with each other, the more supportive environments we create. So, and I think that goes back to reducing the pressures of like this joyful holiday season. It doesn't need to be anything that it's not for you. And there is community and resources and support available no matter how you're feeling, no matter what you're navigating. We always encourage folks to ask for help wherever it feels safest for you to ask for that help.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, that statistic of how much individuals' substance use increases over the holidays, even if they aren't somebody who identifies with having a problematic drinking or a alcohol addiction, alcohol use disorder. It still is in something that increases for many people, and so taking it, mindful, like we talk about mindful use, right? And like why and how much, and being thoughtful about that, and taking a lot of those steps to celebrate safely. And we have a lot of resources around this on the Partnership at Drug Free New Hampshire website, and we have. And Nikki put in so many of the resources that you mentioned, Ellie, individually in the chat. And you can also go to the Partnership at drugfreenh.org and look around there for resources like similar, 988-209, right? All the ones in the state that are specific for New Hampshire folks as well. And then Nikki put in the Sober Curious NH link, and that is a website that kind of gives some tips and tricks, if you're kind of thinking, I don't really think I want to drink as much, or I want to take a break. We also have Take a Break NH, and some other resources to support just reducing your drinking and being more mindful about it. Binge Free 603, and I think those are the ones that I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I love the comment someone just made around grief and the holiday blues that can get like intensified by I love this word, the forced merriment, and the desire to numb feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's real, right?
Mm.
Yeah, and really important to, as I hope that if you are able to share some of those resources with us as well around that people could, who are experiencing grief and who are, experiencing this, that they might be able to reach out to specific to grief. If you have some of those that you could link to, we'd really appreciate that.
And to that, that sense of numbing feelings, I didn't mention this, but if you are someone in recovery, remembering to know your signs when you might be struggling or you might be feeling a little more activated, and how you can mitigate that, how you can practice your own self-care, get help, reach out to your recovery community, so that you don't feel like such a force to be happy or be like quote unquote normal. We can definitely share resources to put through social media, but knowing your signs of struggling and where you can go to ask for help.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that goes for everyone as well, right? So thank you so much. Well, thanks for all the listeners who have interacted with us today. Definitely keep asking questions. We know that many people watch this after, and so if you have questions, reach out to the partnership. The Ellie's organization's information will be in there as well. You can reach right out to Recovery Friendly Workplace. We will link you to or show you some places where you can get social media like toolkits and messages that you can share through social media to support, to increase knowledge and awareness around the resources that are available. And I think that will do it for today. So thank you, Ellie, for joining us. Thanks for all you do to support people around the state of New Hampshire, and thanks to our listeners for what you do as well. And I don't want you to have a forced happy holiday season, but I hope you take care of you and find some warmth and comfort in whatever that looks like. And we'll see you in the new year.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you all.